Welcome back. You're still live on the Channels Television, and of course we're broadcasting from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, where the World Economic Forum Africa meeting is taking place. There's been various sessions this morning, and of course all of it focusing on Africa. Africa is rising, but how inclusive is the growth that is being recorded in Africa? Well, I'm being joined now on the program by the chairman of the Executive Board and Chief Executive Officer of Heineken Netherlands, and he's also a co-chairman of the World Economic Forum, Mr. Jean Francois Van Boxmeer. Thank you so much for coming in, Jean Francois. Well, you're wearing so many caps, but now let's look at one of the caps that you're wearing. You're co-chair of the World Economic Forum, and this meeting basically is on forging inclusive growth and creating jobs. Now, one thing that we know that the World Economic Forum is really known for is how can this be achieved? How can inclusive growth and job creation be achieved in Africa?
Well, the World Economic Forum is to bring exactly governments, business leaders and NGOs, civil society together to think about how to create a better world. Everybody has his own agenda, but you have to find a common ground. And I think today, across the world, but also for Africa, that more inclusive growth is very high on the agenda, because Africa has been enjoying a fantastic growth over the last decade, but at the same time inequalities have been growing, and so everybody's looking, how can you make growth sustainable and thus more inclusive? And therefore this forum is important, because this is a place of a dialogue between different actors of how you can do that. And let me then make a bridge of how you can do that. In our particular industry, wearing my other cap, it is that you're looking for employment. We have here Nigerian breweries, which all of you know very well. We have 54% of the capital of Nigerian breweries. It's a winning company. It is catering for employment. It is growing, so for more employment. But the bulk of the employment that we can create is often in partnership with other people. And to be specific, in this country, it is to create all our agricultural supply needed for the breweries, grown here in Nigeria. We are busy with that agenda, deploying that agenda for 10 years now. And as a result, you have a system of cooperatives which employs 50,000 farmers to produce the 100,000 tons of sorghum that we need for Nigerian breweries. This is a concrete example of how you grow partnerships which also benefit for the employment.
Now, Jean-Francois, let's talk about your recent investments in Greenfield Brewery. What's it all about?
A greenfield brewery means simply that you buy a plot of land and you build a new brewery. So here in Nigeria, our latest greenfield has been the one in Ama, close to Enugu. That dated now for since 2002. That was at that time one of the most modern plants for making beer in the world. And for the rest, we have been renovating all our 18 breweries here in Nigeria quite substantially. Over Nigerian breweries, consolidated breweries in the Sona system. We have invested, I guess, well over €1 billion over the last decade to rejuvenate and also to cater for the growth of this market.
Now, in terms of working with the domestic investors, now what's Heineken doing about local sourcing and boosting local employment?
We have local encouragement goes both ways. We are 54% shareholders of Nigerian breweries, yes, so we're the mother shareholder. But Nigerian breweries is listed on the stock exchange, and we pride ourselves to have that large investor base here in Nigeria, because that means that we are a Nigerian company. So wealth creation and wealth sharing goes hand in hand. And so we are very much attached, and it has been quite a model for how we can do our business elsewhere in Africa, creating where we can stock-listed companies so that more people can participate in direct wealth creation of our enterprise. And for the rest, we finance a lot of agricultural activities. Obviously, we bring and finance education, research to breed new seeds and sorts of sorghum that are giving better yield for our farmers. All this is a long-haul work which requires everyday attention and investment and a long-term plan. The long-term plan being that you want to source 60% of your needs from the country, and then when you reach there you can go again beyond. On the other hand, when you sell your beer, you go out with trucks. So you're going to finance a lot of people who buy trucks and who operate trucks on your behalf. So that is how
it's a win-win situation for everybody.
It is. That is the intention, and that's how it works.
Okay, now looking at, let's go to the capital market. Nigerian Breweries is actually listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and very recently released your first quarter results. And could you just talk a little bit about those results? The profitability didn't seem to have really been so much, and so investors were not particularly impressed with the results that came out.
Now, last year we had the first year without growth, I have to say. This didn't happen. We had 9 or 10 years of consecutive really big growth, and what I see in the marketplace is that since the last quarter of last year, growth in our business is resuming. So I'm quite optimistic in the future of Nigerian breweries. I think the fundamentals of the business in Nigeria are just great, because you have a big, growing, young population, and in addition you have a high rate of urbanization, and you sustain that with a good economic growth. It goes from time to time with hiccups, but the trend can only be positive.
Now let's look at the security situation. Of course, you were there during the session with the president, and they talked about that security is a growing issue. Now, what makes you optimistic about the African market, despite this issue that we have, the security challenge?
I think where life is, you should remain optimistic. We cannot, as private investors, do a lot about the security situation in a country. That's very much in the hands of the government. That's for sure. But you have to look through that, and in a way, you have to have some confidence that at some point in time, you get over it. And the presence of all of us here in the Economic Forum is to signal also that you don't have to go for terror. I think that is a very important signal that we, all of us, also wants to give. When we all were invited to hold the Economic Forum here in your country, we didn't have, it was before the terrible situation that evolved over the last few days. And I think by coming here, you all signal that you have to stand up against a terrorist attack and saying the future is with life, the future is in continuing investing.
Well, thank you so much, Jean Francois, for coming on the program, and it's been an interesting conversation. Well, I've been speaking with the chairman of the Executive Board and Chief Executive Officer of Heineken Netherlands and the co-chair of the World Economic Forum, Jean Francois Van Boxmeer, and we've been talking about their presence and talking about Heineken, Nigerian breweries here in Nigeria. Of course, it's all about growing Africa, and despite the security challenges, like Jean Francois said, they're here to stay, and it's all for the long term. Well, you're still watching Channels Television, and of course we're broadcasting